Yo, what's going on guys, it's Cynical and welcome back to another video. Today for you guys, I'm going to be bringing you my Kingdom Hearts 3 Remind DLC December trailer analysis. Now this trailer really did Remind a lot of justice for the simple fact of properly displaying to us each of the different cool new features that this DLC will be adding to Kingdom Hearts 3. It was substantially better than the two other previous trailers that we received throughout this year, one during E3 and the other one that came out during the Tokyo Game Show. They were quite subtle in the sense of showing exactly what Remind was all about, although we have had a sort of general idea as to exactly what this DLC is going to entail. Those two trailers really only gave us little taste tests and tidbits towards what we can expect. So there is a lot to look at and pick at in this trailer, so without further ado, let's jump in. Now the very first scene shows us a panning shot of the Radiant Garden Castle, and what an absolutely hilarious way to start off the trailer. I know when I first saw this, I instantly thought to myself, oh my god, does this mean that Radiant Garden is finally going to be playable within Kingdom Hearts 3? It then cuts to a scene of Riku having a conversation with Aerith, Yuffie, and Leon. Yes, the grand reveal that Final Fantasy characters are finally getting added to Kingdom Hearts 3. Now, the very first scene shows us that panning shot of the Radiant Garden Castle, but then of course cuts to a cutscene within Merlin's house within Radiant Garden. These are obviously two different cutscenes, so this is making me think one of two things. The first thing is there might be some more cutscenes that happen inside of the Radiant Garden Castle. And I hope that if that is actually the case, I hope we do get a little bit more content towards the restoration of Naminé. Although it was made apparent throughout the game that eventually Naminé would be able to return with the use of a replica body, and that of course we get to actually see her return at the very end of the game, there isn't actually too much context towards her actual restoration that happens inside of the castle. Yes, we do see her briefly waking up at the very end of the game within the actual lab, but more so I'd like to see, like, what are her first words and thoughts? And a scene where she gets filled in on everything that has transpired would be nice to see. Without a doubt though, we are definitely going to be getting more Naminé context within this DLC, as during the TGS trailer we actually did see a scene of Sora actually talking to Naminé within Sora's dive to Heart. The other thing that it's making me think is this could just simply be a panning shot of the intro segment to that of Radiant Garden for when we dip into the Radiant Garden portion of the DLC. Now let's switch back over to the Merlin house cutscene with the Final Fantasy characters. So within the scene, Riku is mentioning that he's been looking everywhere for Sora, but there is still yet no sign of him. This means that this is taking place shortly after Sora's disappearance at the very end of Kingdom Hearts 3. It appears that Riku actually goes over to Radiant Garden to ask the Radiant Garden Restoration Committee if they've actually seen or heard from Sora and ask for their assistance. Now, one thing that I think is clear is that I don't think this is actually taking place during the same time when Riku actually went to Radiant Garden to collect Naminé. Because shortly after we actually see Riku collecting Naminé, we then see a scene of absolutely everybody on the beach and Naminé is there. This is clearly taking place after Sora's disappearance, so it would seem that Riku actually re-returns to Radiant Garden. Now the big question is, does this mean that Radiant Garden is actually, like, explorable? Is there going to be a small little mini segment where we do play as Riku and we actually get to wander the streets of Radiant Garden? I think it is actually kind of possible, although I wouldn't be surprised if the Radiant Garden portions are just simply cutscenes happening in between the playable moments of the DLC. Honestly, I really do want Radiant Garden to be playable, but because of the fact that we are in for an expanded Scala, I think in the sense of new playable areas, that is probably what Square Enix have focused on the most. We then see a scene of Sora within Ventus's dive to Heart. Now, not too sure when exactly this is actually taking place, but what it makes me think is Ven's dive to Heart moment, where obviously Sora had to wake him up in the land of departure, was, in my opinion, pretty underwhelming. I kind of wish that there was some sort of boss segment or something that Sora actually had to do in a gameplay sense in order to actually save Ven. It sort of just happened like that. So I'm kind of thinking, is this a expanded upon moment where we actually do have to do something in order to save Ven? Why I'm thinking this is because I'm not too sure if these part of the exact same cutscene, but we do see this darkness pool coming out of Ven's dived heart and Sora getting encased with it, and then it quickly sort of switches, or could still be the same cutscene, to then Sora being in the Keyblade Graveyard with another Dark Inferno, one that does look slightly different to the Dark Inferno that is in Kingdom Hearts 3 as the secret boss. This one's detailing is all yellowy orange opposed to the secret boss, which is more red. If this is just one big cutscene, then it makes me think, is this Dark Inferno that we're looking at right here possibly Ventus's Heartless? Now, generally when someone's heart becomes a Heartless, they tend to become an Emblem Heartless, not generally a Pure Blood Heartless. Now, we have seen specifically in Kingdom Hearts 1 that it is possible for one's heart to actually transform into that of a Pure Blood Heartless. This is exactly what happened to Sora when he sacrificed himself to save Kairi. He ended up becoming a Shadow Heartless, which is in fact a Pure Blood. There is also a theory out there that the Dark Inferno that you do verse, the secret boss Dark Inferno, could potentially be the Heartless of that of Ephemera. So could the same thing be going on here? Is this the Heartless of Ven, and does Sora actually need to fight it in order to awaken Ven? Now, the confusing thing here is, like I said at the start, not too sure when this is taking place. Tetsuya Nomura did make it clear that you don't actually have to go all throughout the game again to experience new pieces of content, because Remind is essentially adding more to the final portions of the end game of Kingdom Hearts 3. Rather, you actually do access the new content through the main menu. This Dark Inferno is also within the Keyblade Graveyard, just like the previous one, so you might be thinking, well, this has to sort of take place at the end of the game, but then it is entirely possible that Ventus's Heartless could have resided within the Keyblade Graveyard as well, as we do know that Ven is from the ancient times of the Keyblade War. And if this theory of the Dark Infernos being the Heartless of both Ventus and Ephemera turns out to be true, I guess then you could say it is possible that there are other Dark Infernos out there that could also be connected to the other dandelions as well. A Scald Dark Inferno, a Brain Dark Inferno, a Gat-Dang Pink Luarium Dark Inferno. This could definitely be taking place at a completely different time, but I am sort of crossing my fingers that this is more so of an elaboration on Sora waking up Ventus. In the next scene, we then see Aqua and Sora standing in the Keyblade Graveyard, pitted up against the massive darkness tornado that is comprised of a multitude of dark aquas, opposed to the normal one that we saw at the end of Kingdom Hearts 3 that is comprised of a multitude of shadows. Now, Sora is outlined with a blue glow, which most likely indicates that right here he's using the power of waking. Yeah, the whole time travel to heart BS. And what I think we're seeing right here is actually Aqua's perspective of the dark tornado. You guys should remember that at the end of Kingdom Hearts 3, during this moment when the gang are actually pitted against the Dark Tornado, Aqua does mention, we stand together, getting pretty much prepped to take this shit on, and then quite literally moments later, she just gets wiped out, and it looks like she abandons all hope. Sora speaks the words, "This is the fear and despair that Aqua felt," meaning that Sora is feeling exactly what Aqua felt in that exact moment. And we can clearly see that as he literally drops to his knees with his fist clenched against his heart. In the next scene, we then see Sora being confronted by Xehanort and being absolutely manhandled by the Dark Guardian. At the end of the Remind TGS trailer, we do see a very, very small scene of both the Lingering Will and Xehanort facing each other. As we do know, after Sora used the power of waking and rescued everyone, then traveled back in time thanks to Kairi and returned back to the spot where they were all defeated, Xehanort is standing there yet again. He attempts to strike down the Guardians of Light, and literally out of nowhere, the Lingering Will shows up thanks to Naminé. This information was actually first given a little while ago at a Kingdom Hearts concert. We then see both the Lingering Will and Xehanort fly off into the distance to go head to head. So yeah, Remind is finally going to show us this scene in full. I do believe what's going on here is Sora Sora has most likely time traveled to this exact moment, although whether this is taking place before the Lingering Will fight or maybe afterwards, who knows. Terra Xehanort goes on about walking the forbidden path and making the ultimate sacrifice, which without a doubt refers to that of using the power of waking. The ultimate sacrifice meaning the perish of Sora's existence. Really keen to know though what is actually going on in this scene, with Sora being manhandled by the Dark Guardian and that massive dark wave attack that Terranort sends at Sora. It looks like some pretty serious shit's going down in this moment. In the next scene, we then see an absolutely amazing gameplay clip that I'm sure put a smile on everyone's dial. So this shows us a fight between 8 of the good guys and what I assume is the different 13 Xehanort vessels, obviously wearing the Xehanort armor. The fight's similar to that from the very start of Scala, except here we are actually missing Kairi and Sora. I believe that this is what ends up happening while Sora, Donald, and Goofy are off in Scala. Obviously the guys stay back, and this is most likely what they were getting up to whilst Sora was venturing through Scala. What supports this is taking place in the Keyblade Graveyard still, as we do have the Keyblade Graveyard theme for the command menu. Now what I'm interested to know is how exactly this fight works from like a gameplay perspective, because from the way that I'm actually seeing this, it seems to be that you actually play as everyone at once. You guys will see that the only 2 commands that we actually have right here is attack and aerial dodge, and then it does cut a little bit later on once the team have actually taken about 1 bar off the boss. We have another option right there, which is, oh my god, is that Refligger? We also see the odd triangle command to pop up, as well as it seems that as you are doing damage, situation command arrows are also active during this fight, which obviously do activate those triangle situation commands. These seem specific to each of the different characters. We got to see Twisting Counter, which looks like a special situation command team attack that both Xion and Ventus end up performing. Xion does like this smack and it sends the enemy into Ventus's arrow, which is so cool. The dynamic of thinking that both Ventus and Xion are working together is so strange, but it's happening here. And the next one we get to see is Roxas's Miracle Hour, which I'm assuming is that really cool move that we got to see in Kingdom Hearts 2 Final Mix when we actually fight him, where he brings down those pillars of light. Yeah, that move is finally now on our side. But yeah, I hope this fight isn't automated, where it's just a sort of series of button spamming, and then occasionally you have to press aerial dodge to avoid attacks. Maybe what we are seeing is just like specific moments of the fight where it looks real cinematic, giving off that idea that you just simply play as pretty much all of them, which is just these series of button spams. What does tell me otherwise, and what makes me think that this might consist of switching automatically between the characters, or maybe you actually get to switch the characters on the go, is the very first portion of this clip where we see Riku. Kind of almost looks like the player is controlling Riku, because we can actually see like a lock-on reticle with him performing the combo. So yeah, my hope is that it is not automated. We then see Luxord and Luxu. Oh god, that is just still so weird to be saying, god dang it. Now this scene is a part of that initial scene that we got to see within the very first Kingdom Hearts 3 Remind trailer, where these 2 are basically talking about each other's identities, and this sort of told us that Luxord, although yes with the whole wildcard thing, sort of insinuated, and obviously Xemnas' talk about the ancient Keyblade legacy towards Luxord, Luxine, Marluxia, and Demyx. Luxord is obviously questioning Luxu about the mysterious black box, and specifically asking if it is so important, why exactly are we worrying about it right now? Obviously, with the Tome of Prophecies, everything has to happen in a set certain order, and there is a specific reason as to why the whole box thing is happening as of right now. Why it is happening as of right now, that's information we don't know. This is probably one of the areas of the DLC that I am most curious about though. Knowing that Luxord has this ultimate great importance is very intriguing, and especially when looking towards the ancient Keyblade Legacy cutscene that happens partway through Kingdom Hearts 3. Although when Xemnas actually does mention to Luxord that yes, you guys have an ancient Keyblade Legacy, Luxord does look sort of surprised by that. He doesn't exactly know what he's talking about, although considering that Luxord is in fact a nobody, it is very possible that his somebody version is someone from those ancient Keyblade times. times. Or of course, like he mentioned within the initial Remind trailer, he is just simply playing dumb. It would be nice in this DLC to just get a little inkling towards exactly what this box is. I'm not necessarily saying like explain its purpose or really what's in it, but just give us a little bit of a hint towards what it's so necessary for and kind of why it is so important, you know, without ruining it entirely. So this was really cool to see. Now, extending off of the ancient Keyblade legacy thing, we do of course know that Demyx is someone of also great importance as well. Yeah, there's also that theory going around that this man could be the master man. Okay, please no. But anyway, aside from that, I was actually kind of thrilled to see this because we don't really know what ends up happening to Demyx towards the end portions of Kingdom Hearts 3. The final cutscene that we actually get to see of him is when he is actually delivering the replica body, and that takes place sort of shortly before the Keyblade Graveyard events. So I'm interested to know where exactly Demyx ends up, and I'm hoping that this scene right here might end up alluding to exactly that. It's interesting to know that Demyx was actually in the Keyblade Graveyard while all of the fights and stuff were going on. Whereabouts did this man end up after the end events of Kingdom Hearts 3? We don't know. So yeah, this has me intrigued. We then switch over to the data battle portion of the trailer, which, oh my god, this got me so hyped. So yeah, pretty much confirmed now. These are in fact data battles known as the 13 limit cut bosses. And we do know for a fact that these are data battles, just judging by the command menu, looking all digital and whatnot. We got to see Terranaut in action, Xemnas in action, Dark Riku in action, Ansem in action, as well as Larxene. And the super cool thing about this is, for one, yes, we get to fight these guys individually, which I know so many people wanted for the base game of Kingdom Hearts 3 at the very end of the game, but instead, of course, we got the group fights. So that's one really cool thing, but on top of that, they all consist of brand new moves. As an example, like Ansem right here, he's got these big, massive dark orb attacks, and the arena itself is quite reminiscent of his Dream Drop Distant fight. Xemnas sending down his classic laser attack. This was absolutely nostalgic to see, and to think this move is going to exist once again in Kingdom Hearts 3 is absolutely awesome. We did actually get to see a brief cutscene of this ability being used in Kingdom Hearts 3 against Lee, but it was never actually used during his fight. Now, in the sense of where you might activate these data battles, I'm guessing that because Scala is now expanded upon, which yes, we're getting to that very soon, I'm guessing that in some area of Scala, there will most likely be a room somewhere where you probably access these data fights. The actual arena space looks really interesting because it is kind of like a digital looking platform that you're sort of standing on. It reminds me of that Scala platform at the very top of the castle, except it is definitely different with the designs that are going on. But you guys might notice out in the distance these like purple pipes. I like the arena because it definitely does represent that you're in some kind of digital environment. And also it looks like the bosses all have the same amount of health as well. So yeah, it definitely looks like these bosses are going to be quite challenging. I'm hoping that is going to be the case, just obviously due to the reception of the secret boss for Kingdom Hearts 3. A lot of people were very disappointed about Dark Inferno. So yeah, fantastic to know that the whole data battle thing is for sure coming back. We then see Sora standing in his dive to heart. This is most likely taking place shortly after the conversation between Sora and Namine. The interesting thing about this is Sora jumps from his dive to heart, and above his is Riku's. Now, it looks like Sora is actually using the power of waking here. He starts glowing blue like we've seen previously, which does indicate using the power of waking. We can see that he's using it for specifically Riku, and it makes me think, is this the moment where Sora actually properly learns how to use the power of waking? Because in Kingdom Hearts 3, there was no real, like, scene or moment where Sora fully learnt it and got the rundown. It kind of just happened, so I'm sort of feeling in my gut that this moment right here could be the very scene in which Sora actually properly learns the power of waking, and we actually get the full explanation towards it. So I think at this point, there is still quite a lot of confusion surrounding the power of waking, and certainly as to how Sora learnt it. We do see Sora using the power of waking towards Riku's dive to heart, which is interesting. Is Sora traveling to Riku? Or more so, I'm thinking, is he actually using Riku's dive to heart to more so find Kairi? He does mention in this scene that all hearts are connected, so in theory, if that's true, you could potentially use somebody else's heart in order to get to somebody else, so long as those hearts are connected. And then, of course, right after, we do see Sora and Kairi in the final world. So I kind of have a funny feeling that that could be the reason as to why Sora is actually using the power of waking towards Riku. However, though, this scene, as we can see here, yeah, Sora and Kairi in the final world. The DLC is going to focus a lot around the whole Sora going to rescue Kairi thing, which is fantastic. That was probably the biggest thing that I wanted for this DLC, because obviously, Kingdom Hearts 3, right at the end, Sora and the rest of the Guardians are standing at the Keyblade Graveyard after all of the fights, and Sora is going off to use the power of waking to go find and save Kairi. And then it quickly skips, and then all of that's already happened, and then of course, Sora's perishing. So yes, finally, we're gonna have a big focus around saving Kairi, and all of that will be explained. Next up is the Kairi gameplay. Yes, oh my god, one of the juiciest moments of the trailer. We're finally getting that Kairi development, boys! So, first and foremostly, this is the very first time I've ever been able to play as Kairi, and that in itself is pretty damn amazing. Also, just considering that Kairi's time to shine really didn't happen in Kingdom Hearts 3. We thought it was going to happen with her obviously training to become a Keyblade wielder. So this, I think, will probably give Kairi a little bit more justice. The moveset and her combos, like, it just looks insane. She looks get dang so powerful, dude. Also, seeing the fact that Sora is a party member again is a really, really weird thing, but hey, it's happening. We get to play as Kairi while having a Sora party member. Both Sora and Kairi are facing off against Master Xehanort within his goat armor. This is the same arena that we saw, obviously, the rest of the gang fighting the other Seekers of Darkness. Not too sure what this whole stage area is in the setting. Obviously, we have a darkness-riddled Kingdom Hearts in the background, but what I do think is, even though both fights take place in the same arena, they are happening at different times. It is going to be interesting to find out exactly where this is and whereabouts in the timeline this takes place. Is this once Sora saves Kairi beforehand? Will be interesting to find out. So let's talk about a moveset. So when we first see the Kairi gameplay, it looks like Kairi is performing a finisher, with the big blast attack going on, with pushing Master Xehanort backwards, and then finishing it up with a strike raid. Yes, it looks like strike raid is actually part of Kairi's normal base combo, which is just simply amazing, as usually need to be in a form to utilize, or you have to actually sacrifice resource like MP. Her shot lock looks absolutely fucking broken. So this has always been a thing. Aqua's Prism Rain is absolutely overpowered, obviously, as well as the Ultima Weapons shot lock, but I gotta say, this is probably gonna be one of the more powerful ones as well. Literally, this girl flies around the place sending out mortar missiles of light energy. Good God Almighty. Kairi can also stack situation commands as well, as we do see one of the arrows pop up, so that's cool. It looks like she's probably going to have a few special moves to utilize. We can also use items and magic as well as Kairi too. Also, thinking about the situation command thing, I really do hope that there is a team attack that both Sora and Kairi can perform. Most likely. And next up is probably the most exciting part of the trailer, and that's just the simple fact to know that Scala is, yes, getting expanded upon. This was probably one of the biggest complaints of all time. Not actually getting a proper final world to explore. The World That Never Was fantastic. There was a perfect amount of exploration in there for the final world of Kingdom Hearts 2. Same also goes for the end of the world for Kingdom Hearts 1. More so, Kingdom Hearts 3, just pretty much like for the final world for both the Keyblade Graveyard and Scala, was really just a boss gauntlet, and we never really got that true final world that we could explore. So many people have been clamoring for Square Enix to actually open up the gates of Scala, and yes, our wants have been answered. I'm really keen to know exactly just how much of an expansion Scala has received. We only have 2 different scenes that we actually got to see within the trailer, but it does look like we're going to have a fair amount of new areas to actually explore. A lot of what we've actually seen looks like completely new areas we actually haven't been to, so that's fantastic. And it kind of makes me think, will you be able to go right around the actual like island of Scala. As you guys know, Scala is comprised of multiple different islands, and we obviously make our way to what is probably the main one. So can you go like right the way around the island, or is it going to be more of a setup where you actually have to perhaps maybe climb Scala? The one thing that I really want is to be able to actually go into that classroom area. We know that there was actually a scene many years ago during an exclusive trailer that was only shown to the people that went to the Kingdom Hearts 2.5 launch event. It was a very early trailer of Kingdom Hearts 3, but actually did show a scene of Sora walking into the classroom of Scala with the chessboard. To actually finally get that would be absolutely amazing. But essentially what Scala is pretty much going to serve as in this DLC is no doubt a Cavern of Remembrance sort of setup. This will be where all of the final harder enemy spawns will obviously be. I'm hoping that they'll chuck in some new synthesis items here as well. No doubt because of the fact that this is getting expanded upon, there'll be more chests. And as we were talking about before, I'm hoping that Scala will be the world that actually hosts the data battles, so perhaps maybe there is a room somewhere that you eventually make your way to, like for the Cavern of Remembrance. When you finally get to the end of it, you make your way into the Garden of Assemblage, and there is all the different data fights. I'm guessing that the same setup might be going on here for Scala. And obviously it looks like you activate these little orb things around the place to open up grind rails. Some grind rails you can actually jump off of throughout the game, but some are mandatory to actually stay onto. So I'm hoping in this scene, like right here, we can jump off the rail and explore that little park area, but I don't think that'll be the case. Again, it will be interesting to see just how much of Scala has opened up. Next up we have a cutscene of Xion, Axel, and Roxas, and no doubt this plays shortly before the fight where you actually get to play as Roxas, fighting against Saïx, with having both Axel and Xion as your party members. The interesting thing here is we do see this sort of like glow of light emit from each of the characters' chests. Not too sure what this is, but it could be something along the lines of their hearts are in sync and are finally once again connected. In the second to last scene, we then see Riku and Aqua within the Land of Departure. Riku is saying to Aqua, "Are you sure about this?" And in response she says, "Yes, this time I have help." So I'm pretty sure this is alluding to the Realm of Darkness, just out of the sheer fact that Riku says, "Are you sure about this?" Just considering that Aqua obviously spent a very long time there. Riku's quite clearly concerned about her, so it kind of goes to show that it possibly might be the Realm of Darkness in which they're heading to. If that is the case, then this would most likely be taking place sometime after Sora's disappearance, which might actually directly link up to the Radiant Garden portions where Riku is in Radiant Garden searching for Sora. So it is quite possible that these two may actually be venturing into the Realm of Darkness in order to track down Sora. And the very final scene, and what a juicy one indeed, is yes, the encounter of Yozora. So it appears that Sora is within a final world type of setting, except it looks like that this right here is the complete polar opposite. The final world is daytime with obviously water on the ground, whereas when we look at this setting, it is the opposite. It is nighttime with water on the ground. The interesting thing is making a connection to Nomura's previous works, to that of obviously Noctis from Final Fantasy Versus 13. Noctis refers to that of night sky in Latin, and Yozora in Japanese means night sky as well. It's definitely apparent that Yozora has a major influence from that of Tetsuya Nomura's Noctis. And the interesting thing is, it would seem as if both Yozora and Sora are actually complete polar opposites of one another. Sora in Japanese means sky, so yeah, pretty interesting stuff. In the sense of what is actually going on here, I believe that this is part of the secret episode and is obviously connected to that of where Sora ends up at the very end of Kingdom Hearts 3, finding himself waking up in that mysterious city. It makes me think that both Yozora as well as Sora have similar issues going on, where they both have lost their physical forms and have the same goal in mind towards tracking down someone they care deeply about. The reason why I say that towards specifically Yozora is when we actually do look at the Verum Rex ad in the Toy Story world, it kind of seems as if he actually did lose someone very close to him, that girl wearing the star necklace. Specifically this scene right here though, I think will act as a bridge between Kingdom Hearts 3 and whatever the next title may be. Do you think it'll be a scenario of both Yozora as well as Sora helping one another out to achieve their goals. Or if we flip the coin, could Yozora possibly be more so of an antagonist? The one thing that I have thought about is the emblem that is on Yozora's shoulder. It shows two Keyblades and then a skull. I've often thought of the idea of Keyblade hunters, people that actually hunt Keyblade wielders. As Yozora is clearly not a Keyblade wielder, he is using some kind of sword and crossbow type weapon, although then again it is entirely possible that that could actually be Keyblade transformation, and that the insignia that is on both of his shoulders could represent some other type of maybe elite force Keyblade wielder. Either way though, it will be interesting to see how this scene pans out. Do they help one another to actually get to that mysterious world? Have both Yozora and Sora been trapped in this complete opposite version of the final world for some time? The dynamic that I am looking forward to though is Sora actually recognizing who Yozora is, as of course he saw him advertised all throughout the Toy Story world. So yeah, that means that Sora will recognize Yozora as soon as he sees him. However though, I do think there is a stronger connection between both Sora and Yozora without a doubt, just because of the famous line, I've been having these strange thoughts lately, like is any of this for real or not? They literally both say it at the end of the trailer. Was it possible that Yozora has actually had a very similar experience to all of the experiences that Sora's been through throughout the many different Kingdom Hearts games we've received? However guys, that right there is my Kingdom Hearts 3 Remind DLC December trailer analysis. Hopefully you guys have enjoyed. This was a bit of a thicker video for you dudes, so it'd be super cool if you guys could smash that like button. Always appreciated. Now guys, with all that being said, I'm Cynical. Hopefully you guys are having a fantastic day. In the comment section down below, please leave your thoughts and opinions. With all that being said, I'm Cynical, and until next time guys, I'll catch you later. Peace.
Hit them on the page, you'll be coming through stain. Gold in my mouth when you suckers be bluffing. Milk crate, gaming up your bitch though. Catch me in the back playing Super Nintendo.